Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to your daily lighting critique. So today we're going to go through all the submissions from the last 4 days. I do hope that everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone that's celebrating that. I hope you guys still have some leftovers and you've got lots to eat this week. So let's go ahead and go through them alphabetically. Also, today is the last day for your Prisha submissions. So make sure you guys get those posted to the Lighting Challenge Final Submission channel. Yeah, the Lighting Challenge Final Submission channel. Challenge channel. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so let me go through these, and then we'll see for the ones that are for Prisha. I'll keep them to any like last minute notes that you can do, either in the comp or that would hopefully be like a quick tweak, and wouldn't require too much. So starting off with Aaron. Overall, I think you've got it. I think you've got it in a really good place. I think it's looking really good. The only thing that I would change is right over here. There's a couple of super saturated green little leaves there. But other than that, I think it's in a really good spot. I know we talked about rendering this at a higher resolution if that's still an issue. But if you can, that would be great. Just because it's a still and it always just looks better at bigger resolutions if you can. If not, no worries at all. All right, Alfredo, we've got your Lamborghini along with a really nice reference. So whenever you're working with, which by the way, I think this reference is CG. Yeah, it's totally CG. So whenever you're working with a car company, there are a couple of things that they, and I haven't done it much, but the times that I've had, there's a couple things that they really care about. Number one is that the car is accurately represented. And number two is you have to absolutely make sure that the color is right. Now, looking at this through my screen, I think that the yellow on your car is a little bit on the green side. Like if I want to just shift this a little bit more away from green and into magenta, I think this is because they end up, like sports cars end up being more of like a pure kind of like saturated yellow color. And let's see if you can see the difference there. And so you want to always make sure, more so even than a character, you really want them to fall into their hero color. So that's step one. Step two with this one that I would look into, and again, this reference provided really good examples of this, is like look at the reflection. The reflections really do play up the curves and really emphasize the shape and aerodynamics of the car. Where this one kind of feels a little bit flat, it would be nice if there was a little bit like tighter, more like tighter reflections that are able to pick up that curvature just a little bit more. And then you can also pick up a little bit of sky in the top too. It's very different because your color is much lighter in value than the darker one, and the darker one will pick up more reflection, but you still want to pick up that shaping a little bit. And then the third big one for yours is these taillights. Is that this doesn't fully look like the light is being sourced from what's underneath here. Like these need to go more kind of a pure white color, and then a little bit more like saturated red, like in this tone. And then you need to kind of feel it on the surrounding panels and reflective parts of the car a little bit, because this just feels like there's just kind of like a red haze over top of it and super noisy. But it should feel like it's light coming from LEDs from inside of there. So just to work on that a little bit, and then just for pure aesthetic reasons, but look at the shadow on the ground versus this shadow, which is very sharp. You want to soften it. Again, this feels like a little bit of an overcast day. You definitely don't want that sharp of a shadow down below. But in terms of the light value on the car, I think that's working out pretty well. We just need to get the hue and saturation in place, get some more sharper reflections to create that curvature, and then getting those taillights to read more like taillights. And I think that would be at a good spot. Now this Photo Real Woman, there's a lot of really good qualities going on in here. Number one is I love this, like the individual specular highlights that you're getting on some of these hairs. It's just really beautiful stuff. Love the shaping. the lips look great, the nose looks great, the forehead looks great. It all looks really good. She does get again, like in her ear over here, it does look like a little, like, kind of like the way that there's a lot of warmth in the shadow over here, like we're losing all of that warmth over there, and it starts to feel a little cold and not human over there. Now the only other things that I would try and change is if you can get a little bit of the specular highlight into this eyebrow, that would be super dope. Just because it would create some more shaping in there, because right now that feels a little bit matte and a little bit flat. And then, I again love all the peach fuzz, but on her neck, it's starting to get a little bit dark and heavy. If you could prune that down, that would be great. I mean, it's not the worst that's there. If you can't, maybe just isolating it and taking it so it doesn't like down here, it looks like it gets like a darker color, and she has like 5 o'clock shadow on her clavicle, and I mean, I probably have that, but that's not ideal. And then I was also looking at this line here. Is there any way to soften that up a little bit? That would be great. And then I would darken right in there, and a little bit back in there too. Same thing here, same thing here. But other than that, really looking great overall. Annabelle, loving, like, you're doing great. This is really fantastic. If there are a couple things I would tweak, if there's any way to make the woman slightly, this is a small one, but like slightly brighter towards her upper half, like towards the top, and then slightly darker towards the bottom, just to kind of really enhance that that we're focusing up towards her face. And you just want to slightly kind of darken and lighten and push and pull those values to kind of get us into that space. Let me see if I can just do this real quick. So just to kind of mock that up real quick. So like this slight darkening down below and slight brightening up above. Do you see how that just helps push the eye up towards her face just a little bit more? I would do, like, that's pretty rough what I just did, but I would do something like that neck, because that would really just help center us in right there. It's just a small, subtle tweak, but it's something I do pretty often to try and get the audience focusing in on the character. But other than that, I think she's looking really good. Oh, and then another super subtle one. Go darker. Go darker back in behind the neck here. Sorry, that got big. But like right. Oh. Right back here, this little area. Just darken that down right there. I mean, I totally get that light was shining through this shawl, but like we want to kind of ground that visually, and I think that would help. All right, Ashley, lots of progress here. I you know what? Tomorrow, I'll post about this, because I'm sure some people will miss this. But I really want to see your guys' very first post, or your very first renders with these, and these last ones, just to show how much improvement that have been made. There looks like there's some sharp, like, ferns when these are out of focus back here. So just, it looks like something wacky going on in the comp, or something in the comp isn't quite picking up the blur the way that everything else is. So that looks really good. If you have a crypto mat on this string, I would make that brighter and whiter. And then for these flowers hanging down here, same thing. If you have a crypto mat for them, just up the gamma on them a little bit to get them a little bit brighter. And then on her face, if you could pull back on a little bit of the red saturation, I think, because it's just a little bit too much in the reds. Oh, not quite that much. Maybe something more along those lines. I think that would help out a lot. But yeah, really looking good. So I just think, like, render it high res, give it all the bells and whistles at the very end, and then you're ready for your final submission. Oh, wrong one there. There's a sneak peek at the next lighting challenge. All right, Forrest. Yes. Good progress. I still think that this is a little bit too saturated on her. Just in this region in here. I think that area can go a little bit less less orangey and kind of just because it's so bright, it kind of pull that back. And then I would make these eye dings kind of match up with that color, so those are a little bit warmer. And then this guy right there is getting a little bit dark. I would just, maybe in the comp just boost that up a little bit. And then if you can roll off some of these super brights here, and here. One way that I like to do that is to isolate those areas in the comp and then put in a grade node and just increase the white point. You can try that and see how well that goes for you. But yeah, really good job. You're well on your way. Let's just get that final render done and we are good to go. All right, Jeff. So from the last iteration, this is starting to look a little bit like there's now like a broad light over top, and it's starting to make him look kind of dusty. Like his fur is now just kind of like a lifted gray, and I would pull that back. You want to create a little bit more, because there's like this ear is kind of the same as this ear now. Like there's just like a lot of, like, we've lost some of the variation going across him, and I get that, like, we got this big skylight up ahead, but we do want that to be kind of like a fill light that's way secondary, so it's a lot of toning this one down, not maybe necessarily in the background because it looks okay back there, but on him, like, by about half. And then I'm seeing like hard shadows from it, so you want to soften those up. And then really think about it as a complementary light, right? So it's like this big, broad complementary light, and then think of the moon as the sun, and that one's going to have a tighter radius that's going to create some more shaping. And although it's bright up there, you can really kind of move, you can play around with the moon a little bit and like make it so it's at a more stark angle to create a little more shaping on him. But I think that's the biggest thing that I would work on, is just reducing the influence of that sky and then creating something that'll put a little more shaping on the character. All right, Jenn. I'm liking, like, if I sit back and I look at the scene as a whole, like just the individual components of the scene, everything's starting to work together until I get to her face. Her face has some issues, and the biggest one is these shadows are now like very red, and it's okay that they're a little bit that way, but they seem like super crunchy, and by that I mean like very hard edged and very saturated. So we definitely don't want to go quite that high. Like, her arms look pretty good. It's just like something about her face has gone high contrast on us. So if that's something you're doing in the comp, I would pull that back. I would also work on, I think these flames can be smaller. I think they can be like here. And then just kind of, and glowing the edge a little bit more. They're like, I can read the edge a little bit too perfectly. And the reason why I'm saying that is I'm very aware that they're the same shape. They're like they're too perfect. So by blurring them and making them less obvious what shape they are, you can create a little bit more variation in there. Yeah, I think that's the main takeaways from this one, and so I try and hit that if you can, and we'll see it with the final submission. And if you don't get those done today, if you're busy, no problem. We will continue working with these, but just as a reminder there. All right, Jordan, so we've got 2 images. I think the second one was more recent. So I actually think that you've gone too heavy with the volumetric light over top of her. I like this one better. I like her lighting here better in that, you can kind of read her darker values. This one, she kind of starts to feel a little bit washed out. So I think you can keep this on the background, but definitely stick with this on the foreground. And then these flowers in here, if we can get a little more, because again, just because flowers are translucent and light passes through them very easily, so like these darker values wouldn't quite get that heavy in that region. And then for her eyes, like a couple of these shapes, like these shapes here, I would turn off their ability to cast reflections in the eye if you can, whatever is causing that, just so we can, because again, it's going to be a real challenge to really read the shape of her eye, since we're kind of only seeing a small snippet of it. She's looking over our shoulder, so something to be aware of there. But yeah, I think that should be your main focus today, and seeing where you go from there. Also, It looks like it's blurry back here, and then again, there's something here with this lampshade that gets very sharp, so just look out for that. All right, Kat, great progress. Much better shaping, much better look overall. I know you were able to overcome some technical hurdles this weekend, and I think that's great. You're starting to get some solutions, and you'll have all the power to create the images that you'll need to create. The only thing with this one is we talked about this is you've brightened up the background a little bit, but I think we can just play it up like it's in shadow. So you may even be able to just take the wall and I would just darken it back a little bit and just pretend like all that stuff back there is in shadow. And that way it'll just because like it may not make the most sense, but I think compositionally it'll help set the character forward a little bit because right now it's not bright like it's sunlight and it's not dark. And my gut is I'll just compositionally, I think that going darker would be a little bit better. But yeah, I don't want to give, like I said, I know we're doing final submission, so I don't want to give too much. If you could add so right here it's now that you've got good shaping on her face, like right there is getting a little bit dark, dingy. If you could just push, and I mean like 20% of the value of these lights, just some warmth in there to kind of help, because if you just lift it, it'll be kind of dark and dingy. And additionally, I think you can make the key light a little bit warmer on her too. So just add a little bit more warmth to the key color, and I think you'd be in good shape there. So great progress overall. Really nice stuff. All right, Michael, for your reference, Love Piper, one of my favorite animated shorts of all time. Still blows me away. I just watched it this weekend with my son, and mostly because he likes the Pixar opening animation of the Luxo jumping on the eye. But love this animated short. Such beautiful colors, such like soft palettes, like good bounce light up underneath here, lots of shaping, just really good environmental light. So you've got some good stuff going on here. I feel like it's out of focus though. Like maybe it's just low res, but like the edge of him just feels like he himself is out of focus. And I get that you're trying to do a shallow depth of field thing, and that's really cool. But like even this thing feels a little out of focus. His feet back here feel out of focus. So maybe try. You might have to open up the depth of field a little bit into a wider range by lowering the f-stop to create that, and seeing where that gets you. In terms of the colors, I think the colors look really good. If I had any, you've got kind of like the warm bounce coming in here. The only thing I would add is just like a little bit more key warmth that trickles up along the side here. So just like pushing it just a little bit higher so it wraps up here. And I think that's pretty much all I would do on the color side of things. But yeah, because I think you're pretty much nailing it right there, and I think you've got it going on. So let's just stick with that. All right, Nigel. Really cool progress. The one thing, like, I'm noticing that we've got the shards of light coming across here, and as it does, like, it feels like it's changing her a lot. Like, it's actually changing her, like, the amount of light that's on her. Like, she feels darker, and it might just be. She feels darker in the shards of light that make it feel like it's really kind of a comp roto shape that's darkening in there, and that's not fully what would happen. It might do it a little bit, but prefer to be like exactly on that line. It makes it feel a little bit two-dimensional. So I would keep her face a little bit in the same value as around that shard, or at least decrease it. I would keep it the same. Just keep it the same value coming across there. And what I mean by that is like, so it's like a value, like this value and this value are the same, and then right here is in the middle. And I would just like all that to kind of sync up. Bum 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 bum. I'm looking on the key on this screen right side, and I'm wondering if like 2 pixels out of focus in here, just because the background's a little out of focus. Maybe try just a touch of defocus on here in the foreground. If you don't like it, pull it off. But I think that, and then maybe a touch more out of focus on the background, like 3 more pixels. of blur back there. And then pull this off. Her skin tone could be a little bit warmer. Like, oh. Oh, wait. Like just looking at her skin tone here, I think you can go, I know I'm changing the entire scene, but just like focusing in there, I think you can go just a little bit more warmth in there. And I think you'd be good to go. All right, Pavel. This looks great. I can't tell the difference. I mean, I know that the normal map wasn't there, but you know, other than the shifting of that pod on the screen left side, I mean, they look almost identical to me. So I think that your next step, if you want to continue with Redshift in this scene, is to find some reference of it looking a different way, and going from there. Because I think, other than the comp stuff that he did at the end, I think this looks pretty spot on. So let's see if you can do it again with different reference. So I think he did, like, because this is kind of like a foggy day. I know he did a nighttime one, and I think he did a daytime one too. So maybe try like a different lighting setup than the ones that Shane had created. If you want to continue with this asset, and I think that would be a good step forward for you. All right, Rick, Jedi Rick. The shaping's looking good. Biggest thing I want you to work on is getting more bounce light in here. This is super dark, and like you want to create more, and you can see like bits of it down here, but like it's most prominent underneath her nose and up underneath here. So I really want you to work on getting some bounce light in there. That's going to create that's going to really make it feel like it's outdoor daytime, because you won't get that harshness of shadow underneath there. So that's one. And the only other thing I want you to do for the next iteration, and we'll keep building from there, is to pull out some of the green value in her skin. I think it's a little bit too much on the green side. All right, last but not least, we've got Tyler. So Tyler, good shaping. I love the fact that this is kind of slashing across there, getting some darkness back there. So, but the biggest thing to work on is the like these are pretty hard lines on her face. And I don't know if it's a matter of just increasing the radius on the key light, or if it's a matter of adjusting the shader a little bit so it has some more subsurface scattering. But we need to soften that a little bit because that's looking a little bit too harsh. Additionally, like I think we can go darker on like the fill side of her a little bit more. Because I like the contrast difference between the two sides. It's just the hard line, and then this stuff is getting a little bit too bright. But if we start to pull that down, then it'll look too flat. So we should darken the screen left side of that just a little bit more. I love the spill of light that you're getting down here through the flowers and through some of the other elements in the scene. I think that's looking really great. And then, but yeah, I think that those would be the biggest hurdles for you to get going forward. So I think that's enough for you to focus on for the next iteration, and then we will go from there. All right, so that's it for today, everybody. Thank you guys for submitting. I'm very, very excited to see your final submissions and announce the next lighting challenge, which for you go-getters is actually already posted on the site, but I will officially announce it tomorrow because, well, I'll tell you now and I'll say it again, but we're going to go ahead and extend the deadline for the next lighting challenge, so it'll actually be due at the end of January, just because we know with the holidays coming up and this holiday years is unique. And we don't want to pressure everybody at the end of the month to try and get something done. So we're going to give you an extra month to make sure you guys have what you need. So, all right, that's all for today. And let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you all soon. Happy lighting.